What's going on, everybody? It's Jay here from Nerd Takes, and today I wanted to give you my take on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So, I know I'm a little late on this one, but with its recent release on streaming, I finally got around to watching this, and honestly, the only reason I'm really doing a review is so that it doesn't turn out to be a total waste of the 2 hours I spent watching it. I figure that maybe this review can save whoever still might be curious about it the time it takes to watch it and give them a chance to better use that time watching something that's actually good. This movie is a sequel to the first Aquaman, which I thought was a fine movie, but nothing great. I'm not really sure how it made $1 billion, but that's a topic for another day. It also marked the end of the DCEU ahead of the new DCU that director James Gunn has full control over. In a way, it was a fitting end because it's a bad movie, and frankly, it would have been kind of annoying if they finally made a good movie at the close of this shared universe. See, I'm a big DC fan, so I really wanted the DCEU to work out, but they just couldn't get a sturdy foundation under them and always felt like they were trying to be Marvel in the MCU, which obviously was the wrong approach. And that actually leads me into my first critique of this movie that struck me as odd right from the start of it, which was that it felt like this movie very badly wanted to be Thor Ragnarok. From the opening monologue by Aquaman recapping how he's gotten to where he is since the last film, to the jokes and humor that just about all missed their mark, to the dynamic they tried to set up with his brother Orm, who was filling in the Loki role of bad guy turned good, it just immediately felt like a knockoff of what had already been done. So, needless to say, the writing isn't very good in this one. Beyond the story being uninteresting and unoriginal, it didn't feel like there was much connection between scenes. The movie just kind of moves along from place to place, event to event, in a way that feels like there was no real thought to the plot, just certain plot points that they wanted to make sure they hit. Then there was the dialogue, which came off as really low effort. I even wondered how much was scripted versus just letting the actors talk their way through scenes. For example, Jason Momoa came off as just playing Jason Momoa. His Arthur Curry in this didn't feel like its own character as much as it felt like him just being himself. He had a consistent bro vibe to him that matched up more with his personality than that of Aquaman. The humor fell flat throughout the whole movie. I can't honestly say I laughed or even chuckled at a single joke. Some were even a bit cringe, where I thought to myself, how did somebody think this was funny? Never mind funny enough to actually make the film. Acting wise, it was more of the same, just very low effort. It didn't feel like anyone was necessarily awful as much as it felt like no one really cared very much about their role or the movie as a whole. Performances seemed a bit like actors just going through the motions. It was hard to tell if this was because they weren't given much direction or if it was the cloud of this being the unceremonious end of the entire DCEU being overhead. There's a chance it was honestly a bit of both. I will say one actor who did seem to be taking his role more seriously than the rest was Patrick Wilson as Orm, but unfortunately, he wasn't really given much to work with. I was a bit surprised at how bad the CGI looked in certain scenes. I thought the first movie had some really good effects in it. Honestly, I thought it was a strong point of that film. So I wasn't really expecting to find the CGI in this to be as up and down as it was, especially given the budget of this one, because it certainly wasn't a cheap movie from that regard. So I'm not really sure what happened there. The action was a bit boring. Nothing was really exciting during the fight and battle scenes. They just kind of happened, then they were over, then it was on to the next thing. There is one thing I'll say I liked about this movie, and that was the strong message of fatherhood. That message is unfortunately a bit rare in movies these days, and this one definitely leaned into that, which was nice to see. Overall, it just felt like no one who was a part of making this movie really took it very seriously. There's probably multiple reasons for that, which one could speculate on, but at this point, with it being the end of the DCEU and this iteration of the franchise, it's probably not really worth the time it would take to do so. As far as a recommendation, I'd have to say this is one you could certainly pass on unless you just really wanted to be able to say that you saw every movie from the DCEU. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back again with another review soon.